Unmatched is famous for having an extensive roster of playable characters, but with so many matchups available, it is extremely difficult to play them all. In this series, we will be analyzing a variety of matchups in detail and hopefully discover some hidden gems. Join me as we explore the latest matchup of the month. If you're a fan of the channel, consider supporting me on Patreon. For as little as $1 per month, you can help me continue to bring you premier unmatched content. Unlock exclusive rewards by becoming a patron today.
What's up guys, Zero Skater here, and we are finally back for another matchup of the month, this time for April, featuring Bloody Mary versus Bigfoot. And yes, I know I said April. I do want to apologize. We're a little bit behind. It's September now, so we got quite a few on the back burner. It's just been a really busy summer with lots of travels, which has been awesome, but it's just been hard to find the time to sync up with Chad and actually get these games in. He's busy raising a family, among other things, so it's been a little difficult there. And moving forward, if I have to, I may bring on some other guests to the channel to play these. But I'm sure that'll be great if I have to do that. But me and Chad are going to try our best to keep it rolling as usual, because I know you guys all enjoy the content. So I just want to thank you for being patient. Thanks for sticking around and supporting the channel, even though there hasn't been all that much content out lately. I have some things, coming up in regards to the new sets and whatnot that I will be releasing, as well as trying to get the matchup of the month back on track. So thanks for being patient, everybody. Thank you for your continued support, especially my patrons who are supporting me, even though I haven't been bringing them content as promised, so I'm slacking on my end. But don't worry, guys, we're getting back to it. So before we get into the matchup, as always, guys, be sure to attack that like button if you enjoy the video, and subscribe for more Unmatched content. And with all that out of the way, let's jump on in and talk about Bloody Mary versus Bigfoot.
Alright, so here we are on Vorpal board as always to check out our first fighter, being Bloody Mary. So Bloody Mary is an older fighter out of Battle of Legends Volume 2, and she is a solo fighter, move 3, 16 starting health. Ability is at the start of your turn, if you have exactly 3 cards in hand, you gain 1 action. So first of all, of course, that is very thematic, very cool. Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Dare I say it the third time? I don't think so. But, alright, so this ability, having exactly 3 cards in your hand to gain an action, is very strong, but very conditional, of course, because having 3 cards means you don't have a lot of options, right? And you have to start your turn with that amount. So first of all, your opponent can play around it, because if you have 3 cards, they can come up and attack you and hopefully force you to defend and putting you down below 3. And if you have 4 cards, they can simply not attack you and just not engage that turn, maybe double maneuver away, and now you're sitting at 4 cards, so you do not trigger your ability. So it's very hard to get it to trigger, but if it does trigger, it's very strong, because that can give you extra card draw, extra movement to move maybe 6 spaces across the map to chase your opponent without having to boost, drawing 2 cards in the process, and then still being able to make an attack. So that is really good if you're trying to be aggressive. So it's a really strong ability, it's just situational. And basically, the more often you can trigger this ability, the better you're going to be doing in the game. And it's definitely easier in some matchups versus others. Thankfully for Bloody Mary in this matchup against Bigfoot, it's actually relatively consistent, I think, to get the ability, which is part of what makes her so good here. But let's take a look at what Mary has in the deck. So the first card being Bloody Requiem. Now this is a bonus attack card that debuted in Battle of Legends Volume 2, and we have not seen any since. But basically it's 2 attacks in a single card. So the first attack, Bloody Requiem, is a 3-value attack. After combat, you do Bloody Reprise. Now that is an effect to trigger the after combat second attack here. So if it's fainted on the first half, then you will not trigger the after combat, of course. But the second part, it's a zero value attack called Bloody Reprise. Now this triggers a new combat, so your opponent can choose a new defense card if they please. Otherwise, they can take it undefended, of course, but that's not ideal. But during combat for the Bloody Reprise, if your opponent played a card against Bloody Requiem, the first half, then this attack's value is that card's printed value. So it matches the printed value of the first defense played during that Bloody Requiem. So really strong, especially against Bigfoot, who has a lot of 4-value defenses. So having the second part of this be a 4 is massive, because sometimes you can catch Bigfoot in tricky situations. We'll go over a little bit of that later on. But if it's feinted, of course, you don't get any second attack, and Bigfoot has plenty of feints. So we'll see. This card is generally very good. You can expect it to be a 3-3 on average, sometimes a 3-4, sometimes a 3-2. And in that case, that means you dealt 1 damage against the first half, so that's okay. And then they might want to take the second half because it's a measly 2, but then you get 3 damage overall for the combat, and that's pretty good. So with a 4 boost value, this card can also be used to shoot across the map in the blink of an eye. So it's a pretty good card overall. Next up, we're going to see Speak 3 times. Now, this is the first of the cards that requires you, maybe not requires, but incentivizes you to attack with it as your third action. Because during combat, if this is your third action this turn, the value of this card is 7 instead. So that's a massive attack here. And you're going to be wanting to use this as a 7 more often than not, because otherwise it's a blank 3, and that's really terrible. So if you can use this during a turn that you trigger your ability at the start because of the 3 cards, you can maneuver up, maybe attack with a Bloody Requiem. That's going to knock hopefully 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, and then hit with a Speak 3 times as your third action, being a 7. That's really, really deadly. Of course, your opponent is going to want to hold their feints until your third action attacks, but that's also good because Bloody Requiem is more likely to trigger for the double. And if they don't have any feints, a 7, even going over a max value block like a skirmish, is going to be dealing 3 damage, and that's really, really good. So Speak 3 times is incredibly threatening, and part of what makes Bloody Mary so fun. Next up, we're going to see Ghostly Touch. So Ghostly Touch, another benefit for the third action attack, because during combat you can boost this attack, which is kind of irrelevant, but after combat, if this is your third action, you recover 3 health. So healing 3 is massive. With 2 copies of this in the deck, that's a potential healing of 6, which would put you at a 22 health fighter effectively, and that is pretty good. So how often do you want to boost this attack? Not very often. The best boost you can do is with Bloody Requiem, and you can make it a 5, which if your opponent happened to take this undefended is massive, but it's not often that that's going to happen, of course. So using it as a third action, if it gets fainted, you get nothing, whereas Speak 3 times, if that is fainted on third action, then at least you get a damage over the feint. So you can actually use Ghostly Touch as not a third action, because it's kind of like a regroup bait in that sense. If they play a huge defense, you just don't boost it, of course, and it was a wash. And if they play something low, then maybe you can boost with a Bloody Requiem and confirm some damage, maybe a 5 over a 2 or a 3, depending on the situation. But again, it's a little costly because Bloody Requiem is such a good card. But Ghostly Touch, another card to look out for, and another payoff for the third action. Next up, we're going to see Out of the Mirror. Now, this one also has a payoff if it's third action, because you get to draw a card after combat. But really, this is basically an ambush, because during combat, your opponent discards a random card, adds its boost value to this card's value. So it's a straight up ambush. It's a printed 1 instead of a printed 2, so it's a little worse than an ambush. But you can use this at any point in the turn, which makes it really, really good. And very rarely will you care about trying to line this up for your third action, because you'd probably rather be throwing a Speak 3 or a Ghostly Touch in its place. But regardless, Out of the Mirror is a very good card. Next up, we're going to see Evade. So it's a blue card for Mary. After combat, draw a card. That's non-conditional, so it's a very simple card, but quite effective, because with 3 copies of this in the deck, means if you're sitting at 4 cards in hand, it's kind of a natural deterrent for your opponent. They don't want to come up and attack you into a possible evade. Sorry, if you're at 3 cards, I mean, they don't want to come up and attack you because of evade. They do want to attack you to try to make you defend and push you down to 2 cards, but if you play the evade, then you stay at the 3 cards, and that's really, really good for you. So It really makes your opponent not want to attack you whether you're at 3 or 4 cards, which is very good natural deterrent, especially against a fighter like Bigfoot who kind of wants to keep smacking you, but he's going to have to think twice based on your hand count. So evade is really good. It's part of the glue that holds this deck together. And then next up, Mirror Image, another great card in the matchup because during combat, the value of this card is equal to the printed value of your opponent's card. So it could full block a log, of course, and so that is really, really strong. And it's a little bit weaker against cards that modify or any offensive cancels, though, because it is a during combat. So an offensive feint is going to deal 2 over the Mirror Image, and that is very bad. Next up, we're going to see Broken Glass. During combat, you can increase or decrease the value of this card by 1, so it can be a 2, 3, or 4 value. And after combat, if the value of this card matches your opponent's, you get to draw a card, and the opposing fighter takes 2 auto damage. That is really, really strong. So if you can line this up as a max value block into a 4 value attack, like a Disengage or a Savagery, this is really, really good because it's going to full block and deal 2 auto damage back and draw you a card in the process. This is another card the opponent has to think twice about attacking you when you have 3 cards in hand, because unless they're throwing a 5 or a 6, which this cannot match, then if they defend with the Broken Glass, they can match it, and it cycles itself kind of like Evade does. So Broken Glass, one of the best cards in the deck. It's honestly one of the most amazing cards in the game. It's just that in the context of Bloody Mary, who's a relatively weaker fighter in general, it kind of balances out. It's okay. You know, it's acceptable, but if this was in any other deck, oh my gosh, it'd be so broken. Next up, we see Jump Scare, another really good card. During combat, if Bloody Mary shares no zones with the space she started in this turn, this card's value is 6 instead, so it's kind of like a momentous shift in a way, except instead of just caring about the specific space that was started in, it cares about the zone that is started in, and you want to be in fully new zones when you are playing this, and then it bumps from a 3 up to a 6 instead of a 5 like the shift, so it's very, very strong. It's another really respectable attack that is not needing to be played during the third action. So it's also something your opponent wants to feint. So they want to feint Bloody Requiem. They want to feint Jump Scare. They want to feint Out of the Mirror, none of which are third action. And they're saving their feints for the third action so they can feint the Ghostly Touch and the Speak 3. So most often, Bloody Mary has a good set of cards to try to bait the feints or eat them up and still get really strong effects. But against Bigfoot, of course, he has 5 feints, so it's a little bit more difficult there. Next up, we're going to see Infinity Mirror, just a solid max value block here. And after combat, choose one of the fighters in the combat, move them up to 4 spaces. So it is straight up a non-conditional leap away, which is incredibly good. Sadly, there's only 2 copies of this in the deck. It is your highest printed value block. It's also your highest printed value attack, so if you're trying to bait out feints and punish over the top of them during a third action, maybe you consider attacking with an Infinity Mirror and landing the 2 damage over the top of the feint. But against Bigfoot, probably not, because he has Imagination, and in that case you would only land 1 damage over the top, and then you're missing out on some of your best blocks. So it's a really, really good card. It's just sad that there aren't more copies. Next up, Trick of the Light is kind of like the regroup of the deck. After combat, you may place Bloody Mary in an empty space adjacent to the opposing fighter. 3 copies. It's really weak at a 2 value. You don't really want to defend with this, especially in a melee matchup. It's great on defense into a ranged matchup because it can set you up for a first action attack. If they approach you and attack, you can hop right adjacent. But in a melee matchup, it's just a blank 2. Basically, on defense, it's very, very bad. You can use it as an attack, though, as a chase, which is really good. So if you attack into a movement and then you get to chase after combat and make another follow-up attack, that can be pretty good. Also, the 3 boost value could be used to boost a Ghostly Touch up to a 4, depending on the situation. And also, it's great for boosting your movement if, for example, you trigger your third action turn, you want to maneuver and boost to reach them on your first action, so you can move 6 spaces with this and then still follow up with 2 attacks. That's pretty good, so the boost value is nice. Next up, we're going to see Feint. You know it, you love it, or you hate it, depending, but it's Feint. There's only 2 copies in the deck, so that is a little unique. And then we're going to see a couple of schemes to round out the deck. Closer Than She Appears is so simple, but so effective. This card is the actual glue that holds the deck together, and I really wish there was a 3rd copy. But you get to move Mary up to 1 space, which is not a ton of movement, but sometimes that's enough to close the gap. And you also get to draw a card and gain an action, so no tempo loss at all. And most importantly, it gains the action, which in I think, every other deck, it doesn't matter which action you're on. So in that case, it's kind of just replacing the action that you spent using this, so it was free. But in this deck, it actually matters because that would mean that if you maneuver, then you play closer, and then you go for an attack, would be the last action of your turn, but it's technically the third action because closer gained you an action. So it lets you trigger your Speak 3 and Ghostly Touch when you're not actually triggering your natural ability for the turn, which is really, really good. So Closer Than She Appears is incredible. And then last but not least, we got Stolen Memories. You look at an opponent's hand, choose a card. They get the choice of discarding it or taking damage equal to its boost value. So you almost always want to play this on either a really good card that's a 3 boost, something like a log, or that's your imagination. So in that case, the opponent probably doesn't want to take the auto damage because it'd be 3. And so most likely they're just going to discard it, which is Eliminate the Impossible on a great card. And that's awesome. Now, if you do this on a 1 boost, that's a really good card, they're probably just going to take the auto damage, and they don't really care about that. If you do it on a 2 boost, that is where most of the decisions come in because they have to weigh whether or not the auto damage or the card itself is more important. So if you can find a really good card that is a 2 boost value, it makes a tough choice for your opponent. But I think in this matchup, you probably just want to go for the big boosts that are really good, like the log and the imagination. But this card also is the only pass in Mary's deck, which can also actually be very important to modify your hand count. Just depends on the situation, but sometimes doing a pass so that you're not drawing more cards and you're modifying your hand to be a certain amount can be very, very impactful. So overall, Bloody Mary is typically, again, a weaker fighter, but even though Bigfoot has a ton of cancels, I think Mary is pretty well postured against him with her deck here. And she's typically an aggressive fighter because she doesn't really have a fatigue game, so she's just trying to get her ability as often as she can to get all those powerful attacks off and just pressure the opponent with extra attacks and extra actions. And that's Bloody Mary for you. It's kind of Chad's specialty from the past, so kind of his version of Invisible Man for me. And it'll be really cool to see him return to the Bloody Mary for this episode. But let's go ahead and move on over and talk about our next fighter, one of my favorites being Bigfoot. All right, so now we're going to take a look at Bigfoot here, and you might be surprised to hear that he's one of my favorites because a lot of people think he's really dull and boring, and while that can be the case, I think in competitive play, he's a lot more interesting than people give him credit for because sure, he's a deck with just a bunch of great printed values and a lot of cancels, which maybe isn't the most fun for the opponent. But his ability is really what makes him interesting, in my opinion, because Bigfoot is a melee fighter with 16 starting health. He's move 3, has the Jackalope as the sidekick, also melee, starting health of 6. But the ability says at the end of your turn, if there are no opposing fighters in Bigfoot's zone, you may draw 1 card. So that last part is the key right there, may draw. So it's optional. And the use of this ability is really what makes him interesting because you have that decision basically on every one of your turns because you can choose to maneuver away to a new zone and draw a card if you need to. Of course, maneuvering is drawing from your deck, and then the ability is also drawing from your deck, so you are pushing yourself closer to fatigue by doing so, and that can really screw you over in the long game in certain matchups and certain scenarios. So it's not always a good thing to use the ability. Sometimes you choose not to because you want to play the slow grindy game and use your schemes for passes and your attacks as passes and try to draw as little as possible. But sometimes you really need to draw to find defenses. Maybe if you're up against like the T-Rex or something. Anybody who's really aggressive like Houdini, maybe you need to use the ability. And also maybe you just want to be the aggressor in the matchup and you want to use your ability as often as possible so you can just have hand advantage over your opponent and just keep pressuring them, in which case a lot of times you send out Jackalope to do the dirty work for a while so you can still attack. And even though Jackalope might be in the same zone, as long as Bigfoot is not, then you get to keep your card draw engine going. And so this optional ability I think is really what makes him interesting, and he's also just a very versatile fighter. And he's all about fundamentals. He doesn't have discards, random discards, or anything like that. He doesn't have healing, so there's not a lot of tricks. It's just damage output and defensive options, and it's all about then your positioning and your usage of the ability. So I think he's actually a lot more interesting than it may seem. But let's take a look at his deck. Larger than life. This is the log. This is classic. 6 value attack. No text on it. A 3 boost value is actually can be a detriment a lot of times, honestly, because you're never discarding a log to boost. Almost never. It'd be a very, very rare case that you would do such a thing because this card is just amazing. It's going to deal 2 damage guaranteed over a max value block, if not more if they defend suboptimally. So with 3 copies of this in the deck, you can almost guarantee 6 damage over the course of all 3 of your logs, and that's amazing. Next up, we're going to see Savagery, another really good attack for Bigfoot only. It's a 4 printed value, another 3 boost, which is great. 3 copies also in the deck. And after combat, if you won the combat, deal a damage to each fighter adjacent to Bigfoot. So this is a little bit of AoE damage, area of effect, which can help deal with 1 health sidekicks in matchups like the Medusa matchup. But of course, you have to win the combat, so there is plenty of counterplay with this. Not only does Bigfoot have to win, but it has to be the fighters have to be adjacent to Bigfoot. So if there are movement effects after combat, then you can help avoid all that auto damage blowing up your sidekicks. Against Bloody Mary, that's not super relevant. It's just like a 4 value attack that if you win, deals an extra point of auto damage. And so in that case, it's kind of like a printed 5, but conditional 5, right? Next up, we're going to see Disengage. Now this is an any, so Jackalope can use this. And I think from here on out, Jackalope can use any of these cards, any of these combat cards. So that makes Jackalope a really, really good sidekick because there are so many cards it can use. Now, after combat, Disengage, this is a classic card. Choose an empty space in this fighter's zone and place this fighter in that space. So it lets you hit and then warp away so that your opponent can't just double counterattack you. And if they do want to double counterattack, they'd have to feint this, in which case they would be taking 2 damage over the top of the feint. So you're usually pretty happy about that. And especially because it's Bigfoot, if Bigfoot himself is attacking, you don't want to be feinting because it could be the log or the savagery or the disengage. There's just too many punishing attacks. You often do not want to be feinting on defense against Bigfoot. But against Jackalope, it's okay. But still, you might take 2 damage from the disengage, and that's a pretty big punish. Oh, this is also great for Bigfoot triggering his ability, of course, because you can go up, attack with Bigfoot, and then as long as they don't feint it, you hop away. If you're in like a dual zone, you can hop to the other zone that the opponent is not currently in and trigger your drawing ability if you please. Next up, Momentous Shift, another classic card. During combat, if your fighter started the turn in a different space, it's a 5 instead. This is another great attack for the Jackalope because he can run up and hit for a 5 and then still draw with ability. There's 3 copies, which is great. It's also a 3 value defense, which is just fine in a lot of situations. So that's something often overlooked. And also in this deck, there's a lot of movement on defense. So if you get double attacked, for example, by a ranged fighter, this could be a 5 value defense as well in this deck pretty often, which is great. Next up, Just Your Imagination. It's a blue 3. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. That's incredible. It's just a defensive feint. That's a printed value of 3 instead of 2, which is even better. It's an any, so Jackalope can use it as well. This card is just incredible. Hoax, also another incredible card. One of the best cards in the game, honestly, because it is non-conditional after combat of moving your fighter up to 5 spaces, and you can move through spaces containing opposing fighters. So incredible. I mean, it's better than Dash by a mile because it's a printed 4, so it's a max value block. It's an any, so Jackalope can use these as well. You get 5 spaces of movement, which is huge, and you can go through opponents. So you can really set up anything with this card. If you're in a ranged matchup, you can move up to them on defense, setting up for a double counterattack turn very easily. It's a combo breaker. It's a max value block. It just does everything that you'd want a card to do. You can also use it to hit and run on offense. And again, it's a feint punish because it's going to deal 2 over the top. So this card literally just does everything. It's an amazing, amazing card. Next up, Skirmish. Another great card. Not quite as good as Hoax because it is conditional. The after combat. You have to win the combat in order to move. But also, Skirmish can move opponents whereas Hoax only moves yourself. So Skirmish is still incredible. One of my favorite cards in the game, if not my favorite, because of how versatile this card is. And again, 3 copies in the deck means that even Jackalope can just be so tanky. Next up, we're going to see a full 3 copies of Feint. That is pretty classic. Regroup as well. 3 copies. This is easily the worst card in the deck, but it works fine as a bait attack from Jackalope if they're expecting a shift or a disengage, and you hit with a regroup and it gets feinted. You're feeling pretty dang good about that. But also, if you need to pressure, it can be pretty good for that hand advantage as well, because you can hit with Jackalope with the regroup. Hopefully they defend. They used up a card, you draw off the regroup, you also draw off your ability at the end of the turn if you need to, and that's really good offensive pressure. But most often you'll just use this to boost when you need to, because with a move 3 baseline plus 2, you get to move 5. That's respectable movement for both your fighters, so regroup is regroup. But the art on this one is top tier, I gotta say. This is one of the best regroup arts, I love it. Couple schemes to round out the deck here again. We have Crash Through the Trees for Bigfoot specific. You move him up to 5. You can move him through spaces containing opposing fighters. So it's just a move 5 and move through opponents. Often you're not going to use this as much other than just a pass. But hey, a pass is still really good. And it's a 3 boost value, so if you don't need the passes, you can move 6 with this and still keep your combat cards. So this card is just really good. It also can get out of pins if that's necessary. Of course, in this matchup, it will be irrelevant because it's a solo fighter with Bloody Mary. But you can also use it to easily set up pins. If you're on a corridor map like Sherwood, you can move Bigfoot through the opponent, and now you have Bigfoot and Jackalope on opposite sides of the opponent, pinning them in. So this card is just really great utility pass here. And this is the only Jackalope card in the deck, but this is the reason why you want to keep Jackalope alive and the reason why he's so good, because Jackalope Horns lets you move Jack up to 5 spaces. Again, you can move through opposing fighters, and you deal 2 auto damage to any fighter adjacent to the Jackalope, any single fighter that is. So 2 auto damage, 3 copies in the deck, that's 6 auto. So between this and 3 logs, you're often getting guaranteed 12 damage with Bigfoot in a matchup, as long as you can pull off all the logs and all the horns. And that's the majority of most fighters' health. And then alongside the shifts and the savageries and the disengages and whatever else, Bigfoot can usually find his damage to close out a game. But the Jackalope Horns just does everything you'd want a scheme card to do. It's a pass. It has movement. You can move through opponents, so it's very hard to play around. And then it has auto damage. So this card is just amazing and makes Jackalope such a menace of a sidekick. And that rounds out Bigfoot's deck. So again, there's not really a lot of tricks to this deck. It's just big numbers and efficient cards. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to use these cards. And that's why I think he's interesting, because he seems simple on the surface, but there's a lot more depth if you play him competitively when you're worried about fatigue and initiative and tempo, all that stuff. It matters a lot. So Bigfoot's pretty cool. It's also Bigfoot, which is just such a cool character thematically, in my opinion. I love it. When I first got the game and I found out you could play as Bigfoot, I had no idea his power level. I just thought, oh man, it's Bigfoot. That is so cool. And so I was drawn to him, as I'm sure many others out there were. So he's just really cool. And one of the oldest fighters in the game at this point. He was basically a release fighter, basically. So yeah, he's an old boy, but still one of the best fighters in the game. He has withstood the test of time for sure. So maybe not quite the big 3 that he used to be, but still a top tier fighter for sure. So let's go ahead and talk about a few key interactions now that we should expect to see between Bloody Mary and Bigfoot before we actually get into the games. All right, so this first one I mentioned in the Bloody Mary analysis, but Bloody Requiem is such an important card in the matchup because it can be incredibly swingy depending on what Bigfoot defends with. So if Bigfoot defends with Hoax or Skirmish, which is pretty likely, then Bloody Requiem hits a second time with a 4 value printed attack, which is incredible. So you could potentially use up 2 copies of Hoax or Skirmish in a single card, which means you got rid of 2 out of 6, so 1/3 of his max value blocks in a single card. That's amazing. Now, if Bloody Requiem gets canceled, of course, you're pretty sad, but that means that less of your third action attacks will be getting canceled. So Bigfoot, those cancels, even though he has 5 of them, they are a premium defense, and he can't feint everything in the matchup. So that means Bloody Requiem is likely to trigger at least maybe once or twice in a game. And if you hit Hoax or Skirmish, it's amazing, because there could be a situation where Bigfoot has maybe 2 feints and 1 Hoax or Skirmish, and maybe he doesn't want to feint because he's trying to save him for third action, and it's a second action attack. So he's like, okay, let me just play the Hoax because it could be a jump scare, and at least I would max value block it and take 2 from the jump scare. But it's the Bloody Requiem. So that ripped out the 4 value, and even though the movement lets Bigfoot move away, it doesn't matter. The second attack is still going to trigger, even if Bigfoot is not adjacent anymore. And it's going to be a 4 value attack, and then it might force him to use a feint anyways. And now feint will cancel the during combat of the reprise, so that will cause reprise to be a 0, and it will not deal any damage over the feint, which is a little unfortunate, but you still then used up 2 premium defenses in 1 card. So that is amazing. Now the only other options that Bigfoot can defend with against Bloody Requiem is a shift, which I think is maybe ideal, but then that still means that Mary is getting 2 attacks, 2 defense cards out of Bigfoot, unless he wants to just defend with shift against Requiem and then take 3 undefended for the reprise, which is less than ideal for Bigfoot to take 3 auto damage. That's like throwing a 6 over a defensive 3 value shift, which is pretty bad. You could also use a regroup defense as the first part into the Bloody Requiem, but even in that case, you would take 2 damage over the regroup, and then you'd have a 1 coming at you, which you could just take to the face, but that again is like 3 damage total in a single combat. But honestly, with all the other options, everything considered, a defensive regroup into the Requiem might be the best case scenario for Bigfoot, other than, of course, the cancel, but you have to be really careful with your cancels once again. So we might actually see a defensive regroup being impactful in the matchup, and that would be really funny to see. I think a defensive shift on the first part is pretty safe, though. But again, unless it's a jump scare, then you're taking 3 over the top, and that's pretty awful. But if you do a defensive shift on the first part, and then maybe a regroup on the second part, just to mitigate at least 1 damage, and then so you'll end up taking 2 from the interaction, and you almost only use 1 defense because regroup really isn't counted as a defense, at least in my opinion, then that's a pretty okay interaction for Bigfoot as well. So we might see some defensive regroup action, but Bloody Requiem is just an incredible card in the matchup, and the way that these interactions pan out, I think, is going to have a huge impact on the course of the rest of the game. Okay, next up, I just want to mention once again how dang good Mirror Image is in this matchup. It's just an amazing card because it's going to match the printed value, and Bigfoot is pretty much all about printed values. So if you can land a Mirror Image into a log that is incredible, you're just going to full block a log, and nothing does that, basically. So that is so good. But it also full blocks the Savagery, and also the other printed 4s like the Disengage, the Skirmish, and the Hoax, if those are used on offense. So the only punishes over the Mirror Image in this matchup are the Momentous Shift, which means you'll take 2 because Mirror Image will copy the 3 and Shift will bump to a 5 and you'll take 2, or an offensive feint, in which case the Mirror Image will stay at 0 because it's canceled, and the feint will hit for 2. So both shift and feint offensively will hit over a Mirror Image for 2 damage. But the problem is that you don't really want to be using these versatiles on offense in the matchup, because Mary has so many good attacks that you have to respect and so much aggressive pressure that a lot of times Bigfoot needs all the defenses he can get. Because if you start throwing versatiles on offense, you're going to probably find yourself in a bad situation where you don't have any defense and you might just take undefended hits and die. Because Bigfoot has so many printed red cards that you really want to be using those to attack and use your purples on defense most often, because there's only 2 dedicated defense cards, 2 blues in the entire deck, so your purples are mainly your defenses. So yeah, the punishes for the Mirror Image are they exist, but they're very risky because if you throw a shift or a feint that's not into a mirror image, like into a, I don't know, infinity mirror or broken glass or even like an evade, like that's really not great for you. So you got to be really careful as Bigfoot with what you're attacking with, and that just makes mirror image such a great and pretty reliable defense in the matchup, as it's almost guaranteed to full block anything that Bigfoot is likely to throw at you. So mirror image is an absolute all-star in this matchup. Okay, next up, I want to talk about kind of the 1-2 punch that Bloody Mary has in this matchup with a Trick of the Light attack as your first action, and that will guarantee that you get a follow-up, and you can possibly line up a jump scare attack as your second action, which is really, really strong because even though Bigfoot, he might stay in place from when you first attacked him, maybe you're at like a zone cutoff where you can jump to the other side of him and be in a different new zone to trigger the jump scare. And that's a really, really strong setup. And even if you're not doing the 1-2 punch here with the trick into the jump scare, Trick of the Light is still really good offensively in the matchup because it will guarantee you get a follow-up. Because looking at the defensive options here for Bigfoot, you have Hoax and Skirmish, which are combo breakers generally, but because Defender resolves first, thereafter combat will move away, and then Trick of the Light will trigger afterwards and jump right back adjacent to the Defender. And then, of course, you have Momentous Shift or Feint. These are not movement cards, and if they use these, you feel great because Shift means less offensive options to beat over the mirror image that we just talked about, and just another defense gone in general. And Feint, again, is a premium defense, so if you throw a Trick of the Light into a Feint, I mean, great. You're feeling super happy about that, but maybe Bigfoot doesn't have any other defenses other than the Feint, right? And maybe he has to throw that, and or else risk taking an undefended 4 from like a broken glass. So again, you just, as Bloody Mary, you got to pressure Bigfoot's defensive options, and this setup is very good because Bigfoot being melee, he is going to have to approach you at times, and he's going to have to throw his red cards, most likely. And the red cards don't have movement other than disengage, and there's only 2 copies. So there will be times, I think, that Bigfoot approaches and ends adjacent so that you can set up the 1-2 punch with the Trick of the Light first attack, and then maybe the jump scare follow-up. And jump scare is incredibly strong. Again, unless it's feinted or canceled with imagination, it's going to be a 6, which is a minimum of 2 damage over these Hoax Skirmish max value blocks, and 3 damage over a shift. The best thing Bigfoot can do here is first defend a Hoax or Skirmish against the trick, and then move, and then trigger a defensive shift as a 5 against the follow-up jump scare, because then you're only going to take 1 damage overall from this entire interaction as Bigfoot, and that is basically the most efficient way of dealing with this. But again, that's just 2 defenses gone. One of them being used against Trick of the Light. One of these premium defenses doesn't feel great. It does let you trigger your shift against the jump scare, but if they threw a broken glass as the second attack instead of the jump scare and you throw your shift, actually no, that's really good as well, because then the shift is a 5 and broken glass has to match the actual value, not the printed value. So it can't bump to a 5. So actually the shift here is really basically an ultimate defense. Because even then, if it's the Bloody Requiem for the double attack, then at least it's one of the better options into that card. So yeah, I think the Hoax/Skirmish into the shift is the best answer to this powerful 1-2 punch from Mary. But these interactions are all just really cool, and hopefully you're starting to see how intricate the matchup can actually get, even though it seems pretty bland on paper. So really cool interactions here with Trick of the Light. Next up, I want to talk about Broken Glass and how good this card is, both offense, but mainly defense I want to talk about here. Because offense, it's great because if they use a shift, if it's literally anything but a cancel, you're going to be able to use this and match the value unless it was that triggered shift, of course, like I just mentioned before. But baseline, this is going to trigger into everything on offense, unless it's canceled, of course. But again, there's only a finite number of cancels. And so on defense, Broken Glass is also very good and one of your best options because what Bigfoot can hit over to punish is just a log. But then in that case, you're still max value blocking a log, which is about as good as you can ask for. So you'd take 2 damage over the top in that interaction. You can also full block the Savagery and the Disengage, so both of the other red cards you can match at a 4 and also deal 2 auto damage back in the process, which is amazing. And then the only other cards that punish the Broken Glass defense is an offensive regroup, but regroup is at least drawing Bigfoot cards, so if Mary is trying to force initiative, that might play a role there. And also, then the regroups can't be used for boosting. That's still one of the better interactions that Bigfoot can do, is bait a Broken Glass with a regroup, but we'll see if that comes up. But otherwise, the Shift and the Feint both would beat the Broken Glass, but are, again, good defenses that Bigfoot may not want to be using up on offense. So against the red cards, Broken Glass is very, very good on defense. And even that shift that I mentioned before, a lot of times Mary is going to be approaching Bigfoot and attacking and ending adjacent. And so if Bigfoot attacks first action with a shift, it's not triggered. And so the Broken Glass is a great defense when it's Bigfoot's first action, because that's one less card that punishes over the top of the Broken Glass. And if Bigfoot maneuvers first when he started adjacent to you and just moves to a different space, it means the shift is very much telegraphed. And so maybe you don't throw the Broken Glass, but then again, maybe that's some mind games that Bigfoot can do to throw you off on purpose and just try to snag some better combat interactions. So Broken Glass is really good in the matchup, and it's really something that both fighters have to play around heavily because it can be the difference maker in the long run. And the last thing I want to talk about here, of course, is stolen memories and what are you going to be looking for as the Bloody Mary player. So the premium options here, when you look at Bigfoot's hand, you're really wanting to see a log or an imagination, because both of these, again, are 3 boosts, and so Bigfoot will most likely not want to take 3 auto damage, and so you probably just chuck one of these out, and those are probably, the best cards that Bigfoot has here. The bottom row are the cards that are really a tough choice for the Bigfoot player. Jackalope Horns, if he keeps it, then he's taking 2 auto in turn to deal 2 auto back to Mary. So it's kind of an even trade there, and if he ditches it, then Mary saves 2 health, essentially. So it's kind of both players save 2 health, or both players take 2 damage. The next up is Hoax. Being a 2 boost, once again, it's like, well, is this defense going to end up saving me more than 2 damage? If so, you want to keep it and take the 2 auto. But if not, if you think you have enough defenses, then maybe you chuck this and don't take the auto damage. That's a really tough decision to make, though. And then Feint as well, another premium defense with a 2 boost. So how many cancels do you need to fend off the third action attacks, like the speak 3 times? And can you afford to take the 2 auto damage in order to have an extra cancel? So the bottom row here, these 3, the Horns, Hoax, and Feint, are really going to make Bigfoot think a lot, and it's definitely a spot where the Bigfoot player can mess up and end up losing themselves the game by making the wrong choice, but oftentimes that is only realized in hindsight, right? Hindsight's 20/20, and so you're not really going to know in the moment always what the best decision is. So that's really, really tough, and it's something the Bigfoot player just has to deal with. So Mary, again, if you see larger than life or imagination, I think you probably want to chuck those. But if not, then I think Horns, Hoax, and Feint are other really good options. The other cards in the deck, it's like Regroup, you just chuck it. Crashing Through the Trees, that scheme, you just chuck it. Disengage, chuck it. Savagery, chuck it. I think you always chuck that one. You're not going to take 3 auto. And then the other ones are like Skirmish and Shift, both of which are only a 1 boost, so just take the 1 auto. It's not a big deal. You save yourself a Shift or a Skirmish. So all of those other options are just very easy decisions to make. But these ones on screen are very tough, and it makes Stolen Memories a really, really strong card in the matchup, honestly, because these cards are so polarized in their layout here with the boost value and the strength of the cards. So yeah, it makes it really good, and 2 copies of Stolen Memories means Bigfoot might lose some of his best cards or have to take a lot of damage and risk dying to Mary's pressure. So great card, and it's going to be really fun to see how it plays out in our games. So overall, it's a surprisingly even matchup. Me and Chad have actually played this one before, but we played it on Hiorat, and that was really good for Bloody Mary because it means that Jackalope cannot use Jackalope horns as the first action because the doors cut that off. And it means if Jack wants to use the horns, it's going to have to be second action to reach Mary, and then Jack is opened up to a double counter attack, or maybe triple, depending on the situation, which is very, very deadly for Jackalope. And I think if Jackalope goes down early without getting off at least two of the horns, I think, then Bigfoot is going to be probably in trouble. Because the more engagement that Mary can force out of Bigfoot himself, that means the more danger Bigfoot is going to be put in for those counterattack scenarios, and the more the defenses are going to be pressured. So, yeah, it was really, really even on that map, but we'll see if maybe on a different map things sway more towards Bigfoot's favor. I'm not quite sure because Mary just really has a lot of tools in the matchup, as we've seen, to counteract some of the really, really powerful things that Bigfoot tends to do. Because Mary sitting at 3 cards, there's nothing Bigfoot can do to stop that by, if you just double maneuver away, then Mary's getting her third action turn. And if you go in for an attack, Mary can play an evade, and that's guaranteed to trigger against Bigfoot because he doesn't have any like random discards or forced discards at all on his combat cards. And of course, he could throw an offensive feint, but then you're throwing an offensive feint just to stop Mary from getting a third action, which would in turn use an attack that forces you to use you're going to use the feint on that third action attack anyways. So like it kind of evens out in that regard anyways. So the best I think Bigfoot can do is go in for an attack and punish for a confirmed 3 damage log over a an evade. Because also you want to be careful of the defensive broken glass, so you wouldn't want to throw a savagery over the evade, even though that would do 2 over the evade. It would do none to a broken glass, and then take 2 auto damage in return, and still Mary would draw and be at the 3 cards. So a 3 card Mary ending her turn at 3 cards is just very threatening for Bigfoot, and there's nothing he can really do about it. He doesn't have schemes like Sherlock or Beowulf or somebody like that who can mess with Mary's hand count without engaging in combat, and he doesn't have those forced discards in the combat to kind of throw things off further. So, yeah, Mary just is surprisingly good in the matchup, even though you would think that all Bigfoot's cancels are going to ruin Mary's day because she wants to not get canceled so that her third action attacks are actually effective. Even despite that, I mean, she just has so many other really good things going for her in the matchup. So it's a really fun one. It's very dynamic. I'm excited to see how it plays out. I hope that playing on a non-Hierot map is still pretty even. Who knows? Maybe we'll decide to play on Hierot just to showcase that. Because we've had the experience before in the past and we know it's a good one. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Chad thinks. But I'm excited for this matchup regardless. It's really cool too because it's Chad's old main and it's one of my mains. And I think it's the first time either of them have been on the channel for Matchup of the Month. So that is just super exciting because these fighters are awesome. And I can't wait to see what happens. So let's not wait any longer. We'll jump on over and see the matchup between Bloody Mary and Bigfoot. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Matchup of the Month. For what is this one? April? We're a bit behind at this point. That's okay. We're getting back to it. So I'm excited to actually play a game of Unmatched. Chad, you mentioned it's been like 2 months since you've played.
It's been 84 years.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. We've just been busy with life and everything. But you ready for this game today?
Let's do it. I'm excited.
Now, this is a classic matchup, at least in my eyes. Bigfoot versus Mary. Now, Hubaris one time mentioned that Mary does pretty well against Bigfoot, and I personally thought he was insane. I was like, what are you talking about? How would Mary do anything against Bigfoot? And then me and you played it, actually. We did kind of a matchup of the month style, and we played it on
Yeah.
Hierot, and it was insanely close. I don't remember the full results of it, but, like, it did not feel easy as Bigfoot. And I think we played it like 3 times in a row with me as
We played
Bigfoot.
3 games. On Hirwa, I believe Mary won twice.
I think that sounds right.
And then on Sherwood, Bigfoot won. But it was I had a sequencing error. I could have attacked with a trick of the light into what I believed a second action, which was pretty certain that it was a hoax. But even then, like just being able to attack that third act, I needed to not draw. I needed to be able to attack you that third action. So I
Okay.
attacked you with a double attack rather than a trick of the light.
Right.
Um, as you can tell, I think about these things.
Yeah, you got great memory. It's crazy how those, things stick in your mind, these like memorable unmatched moments from
Oh yeah.
years and years ago. It's just ridiculous.
Hmm.
But that's just because it's such a great game.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to play this one again. I think Bigfoot has a lot going for him, but so does Mary because she can put a lot of pressure with those extra actions, and also she can value block pretty well against Bigfoot because he's only got 3 shifts to beat over mirror image. Otherwise, mirror image beats everything except for, of course, an offensive feint. But you don't
Hmm.
necessarily want to do that as Bigfoot because then you are one less feint for defense for Mary's third action attacks. So there's a lot of things on both sides.
Yeah,
We played on.
Bigfoot's obviously trying to throw shift or regroup into mirror image.
Mm-hmm.
Even with the shift, you only take 2 over the top, which you're kind of okay with. But it's better for Bigfoot because he doesn't have to worry about them anymore.
Yeah,
So it's something Bigfoot's not necessarily caring about the damage at that point, just more of okay, that's gone.
exactly. Yeah, one less mirror image to eat up a log. But
Yeah,
man, if you hit a log with a mirror image, you are feeling so good.
so
That's
true.
insane.
I think
Uh,
one of the reasons Mary does fairly well here is because um, Bigfoot has no hand disruption at all.
mm-hmm.
The only way he can make you spend 2 cards a turn or extra cards a turn is by attacking you twice. And because of how Mary has a number, she's pretty resilient at keeping her hand at 3 or whatever she wants it to be at, just with like evades and mirror image. No, sorry, bloody. No, why am I forgetting?
Evade and
Been a while.
broken glass.
Broken glass. There we go. We got it.
It's been a
Um,
while.
yeah, it has. Yeah, with evade and broken glass, like she can keep her hand like where she wants it to be to for that 3 actions. And so there's a number of different routes where Bigfoot can try and take. He can try and keep giving you a bunch of extra actions, hoping to fatigue you out. He can
Mm-hmm.
also try and avoid it as much as he can, but you will get some of them naturally and some of them with your scheme.
Mm-hmm.
So Mary's able to do her game plan. It kind of is more like how are you able to deal with it as Bigfoot?
Yeah, exactly. So Mary turns out when you can actually consistently get your ability to trigger is pretty good.
Yeah,
Who would have
yeah,
guessed? But okay, so what kind of map do you want to play on today? Because I know last time we played on Hierot, as you mentioned, twice, and a big thing in that one was it stops Jackalope horns from being used on first action if Mary doesn't want that to happen, which is
yeah.
a
Hmm.
huge aspect of the matchup for Jackalope to be able to horns and then maneuver away, because if you have to maneuver first and then do the horns, you're really vulnerable to Mary just attacking and eating up defenses and damaging Jackalope. And if Jack dies before getting all the horns off, it's really hard for Bigfoot to find his damage. So we know that map is pretty dang good for Mary. You mentioned we did on Sherwood as well, but do you think there's maybe a better map to try that's more even, or do you think like I want to see if Mary needs the map to have it be like an even matchups like we're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the fact that she did pretty well on Sherwood that I remember makes me think that she can do pretty well on a bunch of maps because it's almost impossible to get jump scare to trigger
Yep.
um, on Sherwood. So I think she does pretty well in the matchup. But I think item tokens and high ground kind of mess up a lot of her math, so she doesn't like stuff like that.
Sure, that makes sense. Do you think
Do we
she
want to try
cares?
like
Go ahead.
Raptor Paddock?
That's exactly what I was about to suggest just now. I was just going to say, do you think
Perfect.
she cares about a small map? And
Yeah, I honestly have no clue. She's more resilient than I think people give her credit for, but she can also sometimes just because she does have she likes to play at a low hand count. Sometimes she wants to run away, and if she's not able to, I'm curious to see how that kind of plays into it.
right, right. Well, let's try this out. I think this will be a good one.
I'm I'm going
Let's
to
see. Um,
do this.
I am going to do this, of course. The Mulligan Man. Let's go.
I don't like hate this card, but I actually want just like more reds. I think, like any reds.
Yeah, I agree. You got to at
It's
least
not the
have
worst though.
you got to at least have one red, I think.
Yeah, I do like the Stolen Memories is great in this matchup to try and hit imagination before you play it.
Ooh, that's true. That's a huge interaction. Because no matter what happens, you're happy.
Yeah.
I, of course, am looking for my jackalope horns and my big boy
Well,
logs.
also you had like really garbage defenses.
Yeah,
That was a horrible
so
hand.
bad. All right. I think I'm good here. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, man. Good luck. Have fun.
Yeah, you too.
Let's start with a maneuver. Let's see. If I attack turn 1, you go down to 4 cards. You can attack, put yourself down to 3, and then maneuver. If you double attack, you're down to 2. If you... I think it's good to attack first action, if possible. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I should probably try to play around jump scare a little bit as well, but this seems like good positioning for that. So I'll have Jackalope attack.
Let's eat some damage.
Nah, no damage.
Ooh,
Not today.
I'll take that.
Yep. Okay. And then I draw 1. And I could use my ability. If I use my ability, I'm up to 7. If you double maneuver, you're up to 6. You're probably going to maneuver an attack. That puts you down to 4, which is like the sweet spot. I'm not going to use my ability. I don't want to rush it too much. So I'll just end
Yeah.
turn there.
All right. Let's play this. Let's log you.
Yeah, of course. Now, I don't know what the right answer is here. I don't know if I want to discard it or take the damage. If I take the damage, it's kind of like trading damage with you, ideally. If I discard it, it's like saving us both HP. So it's really a question of whether or not I'm trying to trade damage and kill you first, or if I'm just trying to survive and fatigue you.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
But also if I just get my log eaten by a mirror image, I'm going to feel really bad.
It's true too.
I feel like on a tight map, I can't really fatigue you. So I'm going to take the damage, and we're just going to do the damage race.
Mm-hmm. All right.
You want a copy of my hand, or no, you good?
I'm good.
Okay.
Smart boy, got a mind like a steel trap.
Let's maneuver. Let's go here.
Good there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I shouldn't have hopped on the other side of Trick of the Light because my plan was to like mess with Jackalope just so Bigfoot couldn't reach me.
Keep Bigfoot out of the picture. Yeah, that makes sense. But also now if I go attack you and you just defend and then you have the 3 actions, and that's bad for me. My other option is to do the horns and maneuver, so that keeps me at 6. But then you can maneuver and attack once again, and again that's keeping you at the sweet spot, and that's the problem with this matchup in general.
Yeah.
If I attack you and you get 3 actions, do I care at this point because I have big hand advantage? I don't think I care too much. All right. I'm going to start with a maneuver.
Okay.
I'm going to shuffle up my hand, and I'm going to go 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3 is good there. And I will have Jack attack Mary.
So let's see. You're gonna run away with hoax. So if I faint here, I keep you there. All right, well, let's play this.
Okay. I was really happy with that disengaged top deck.
Yeah.
So I'll jump
Yeah.
over here.
Obviously, if I had the feint, I think I'd throw that there every time.
Yep. And then I will draw with ability this time.
Okay.
Got to keep up the pressure, and I'll pass it over to you.
Let's maneuver.
I say I got to keep up the pressure as I'm all the way across the map.
Right. That's a classic John move.
Yeah, totally.
There, and I'll maneuver again. It'll be your turn.
Okay, let's do the horns. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's have Jack attack with this.
Nice.
Okay, you get your effect if you want it.
I'll go here.
Okay, I will draw and draw again and pass to you. We're going full aggro.
Yeah, I'll attack with Jackalope with Mary.
First action. Don't believe it can be bigger than a skirmish. Oh.
I hurt myself today.
Forgot about that card. How could I? I'm so stupid.
Oh,
So
shoot.
dumb. Let's see. I'll push you 1, 2, and oh boy. Do I ever just take the damage? No.
Take
Because then you
4.
can use broken glass and I die. Man, using up 2 big cards really, really hurts.
That's why I was bummed when I played Stolen Memories and your hand was garbage. Because not garbage, but you had all big blocks and then a regroup. So I wish I had just thrown that and then run.
Mm-hmm.
My problem was
Well,
if you had imagination, you always throw it.
dang,
I'm
what do
gonna
I do?
say it's too late because I know what you're thinking. No, okay.
Hush. I'm gonna go here, actually,
Okay.
and then we'll do the fancy shift.
Yep.
Get that little bit extra value while I can. Although, that's one less shift for the mirror image, so I don't know how I feel about that. Oh, I'm so stupid!
Whoops! Whoopsie!
Oh,
Here.
no.
And
Wow.
attack you with this.
Well, this is brutal. Oh my gosh. Another one? Are you kidding me, dude? What is your problem? Oh my gosh. Let's go 1. No, let's go just 1. And do I take 4? Dang, dude. Well, that's your second out of 3 doubles, so that's pretty nice.
It's true.
See if I regret this. I'll do the hoax.
Okay.
Wow, that was insane. Okay, my turn.
Yep.
Alrighty. Jack will attack.
Take it.
Yep. Draw 2.
You got all 3 regroups that early.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I was also like, why is John attacking me here?
I'm gonna horns while I can,
Yep.
and then I'll end turn and draw with ability.
Sounds good. All right, I get 3 actions.
Mm-hmm.
It's first action, attack you.
I'll take it.
Good take.
Oh, thank goodness.
Let's maneuver. That was a mistake, I think. I think I can afford to back off. All right, and it'll be your turn.
Okay, I will maneuver. 1, 2, 3.
I need to
1,
do that
2,
into.
3.
I knew you were probably going to take it because I forget you always take in this matchup.
Yeah, I think Bigfoot can stay there, and we'll go 1. Well, maybe I want him as far away as possible. We'll go there. I'll draw with ability, and it's your turn.
Let's attack.
I'll take.
I was not expecting that. Really expecting you to play a feint. Oh, you knew that.
Why didn't I do that? I don't know.
No, I said, and you knew that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll leave it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know you don't want to boost it because then I double attack you and then you're scared. Okay, my turn, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let's attack first action. That's really annoying. Okay, second action, I will maneuver, go 1, 2, and 1, actually, here, and you can go.
Let's maneuver. Maneuver. And attack. Nice.
Dang. Okay, D6. That's fine.
4 to 4.
4 to 4, cool. That was your third action, right?
Correct.
So you get to draw 1.
I will be, yes.
I get to move to 5. We'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe? 5. I'll
So
go
you
there.
haven't been seeing any feints, have you?
Maybe. Or maybe I'm saving them for the big boy.
You didn't know that wasn't the big boy.
No, I mean for Biggie.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't care about Jack that much. I've already got 2 horns.
Are you sure about that?
Alright, my turn?
You obviously care enough to throw a hoax.
Yeah. Feints are more valuable than hoax at this point.
Alright. Yeah.
Maneuver. And boost with a crashing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go. Does it matter what side I go to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think this side's better because I can run through the pit if I need to. I don't know if that makes a difference. This. Dang it.
We'll match.
Yep. So I take 2.
Mm-hmm.
And you draw, and it's your turn.
Let's attack you. First action.
Take. Yes, I knew it. I knew it. Oh,
yeah,
man.
me too, actually. But I was cool with the 2. We'll go there. All right. Yeah.
Okay, let's maneuver. Go 1, 2.
I left it open for the draw.
Pretty nice. I'll attack. Nice.
I'll take 1.
Yep, and then I will draw with ability. And you're up. Attacking first action.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a good time to throw your other ambush. So we'll do a feint. Yeah, let's go.
You're winning every combat interaction.
Big brain, buddy.
Alright. But this was a stupid positioning place on my part. Go there.
That would have been a better position, I think, last turn, yeah.
Mm.
Okay, my turn.
Mm-hmm.
I will maneuver. 1, 2, 3, maybe? 1, 2, 3. I'll maneuver again. Go 1, 2, and actually I think I want these like this. We'll do that. I'll draw with ability, and you're up.
Okay. Let's maneuver. Stay there. Maneuver again.
My turn.
Mm-hmm.
I will maneuver. I'll boost with crashing.
Mm-hmm.
Here. Here. Attack with this.
You're both the person to not throw your log yet because they have so many cards, and also the person to throw a log because they have so many cards.
Which is it?
I know. I think it's a savagery. I think I still want to throw that.
Ah, come on. Dang it.
Holy cow.
You know what my reasoning was? Maybe he's tempted to throw Trick the Light here and try to go
get the
after
Jack.
Jack, and I wanted a big punish if so. I mean, I know Savagery still would have been, but greedy. Go ahead.
That's massive.
Oh well.
Well, this will tell you a little bit about my hand. I'm going to maneuver. And maneuver. And it'll be your turn.
We're gonna do the horns.
Yep. Was hoping you didn't have them.
Yep.
If you didn't, that would have been massive for me.
We'll attack.
Jack attack, huh?
That was big. Let me think about my ability here. I think yeah, I'll draw with ability while I can. You're up.
Mm-hmm. Let's maneuver. Let's play this. Let's hit the log.
I'll take the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know when you're good with my hand.
Yeah, I'll copy this one.
Okay.
All right.
All right, my go.
Yep.
I'll maneuver. Go 1. I'll have Jack attack.
Yeah, I'll bump it up.
Bump it up. Okay. So I take 2. You draw. I can bounce. We'll bounce over to here. And let me think about ability. I'm good. I won't draw. I'll just pass to you.
And I'll attack.
Is it worth keeping him alive? At this point, I don't think so. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I'll maneuver. And I'll attack.
Well, if I do that and it's that, I'm like chilling. If I do that and it's that, I'm wrecked. Let's do this.
Ooh, I got it out. Pretty
All
good for you,
right.
though. Pretty good still.
Yeah.
Dang. All right, your turn.
Let's attack you.
Well, imagination. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you gotta save those feints for offense.
Of course, in this matchup, yeah, they're great.
Let's play this.
Okay.
I'm gonna stay there
Mm-hmm.
and attack you.
Nice. Oh, okay, I needed that. No, it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
Let's attack. I wish I had that savagery right now.
I'll go there.
Okay. Then I'll maneuver. Dang it. Okay, I'll just go there. Your turn.
Maneuver.
You got 3 actions, remember.
Mm-hmm. I'll attack.
No trick of the light, please. Oh my gosh. Idiot.
It's just that easy.
You've been top decking everything you needed too. I needed you not to have the imagination when I threw that because I needed you to play your feint.
Okay, I'll go here.
Let's go here, I think. And I'll attack you. Third action.
Well, I do this every time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. My turn. 3 cards left. Ah, they are a jump scare, a speak 3, and an evade.
Yeah, if that was a speak 3, I think I won.
I think so. That's what I was worried about.
Mm-hmm. I think you have this.
I think if you defend with anything other than jump scare, you're dead. So I'll attack. One damage, but now I don't have to worry
No, I would have won if I had speak 3.
because I can go 1, 2, and then I can maneuver. Go 1, 2, 3, and that makes you boost, so I will end there.
Yeah.
Is that the bottom card?
It was, yeah, yeah.
Speak 3? Oh my
Well, I mean,
gosh.
I would have thrown it obviously if I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. Because this.
Obviously, there was only 1 card left.
Yeah. So boost and I'll attack you.
And it's a speak 3, so I just take
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, and then I kill you with the feint.
Wild.
Holy
game.
cow, dude. Good game.
That was awesome.
That was insane.
That was very good. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
was like,
gosh.
when I was evaluating, I'm like, I think I lose because I don't have speak 3 in hand on that last third action turn.
Yeah, exactly. If you had the
It,
speak
it went
3,
it went as I had expected slash hoped, but I think it was the same either way. Like the only other thing is if you took it, but if you took it, I think you're like just playing with fire for no reason.
yeah.
So I think you had to play either skirmish or hoax. And the thing with skirmish is that if I'd thrown one of the jump scares, then you take 2, and then speak 3, you have to defend. So now you're at 2. So now you're dead to fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to play hoax. Then I trick of the light. But your positioning was great because I couldn't go here, which would be good for me, but still because you could go 1, 2, then 1, 2, 3, which is still far enough away. But it doesn't. My what is it? Doesn't trigger, so it didn't matter. But I couldn't go here, which I believe stops you from running away, except for the fact that you can skirmish me in here.
Yeah, right.
And that obviously is pretty painful. So
And
Yeah,
because
yeah,
then
yeah.
you die to fatigue if I push you into the pit because you don't have a big enough boost value.
Yeah, yeah. I just have to be able to reach you.
Yeah. Wow, that was so insanely close.
That was wild. Yeah, yeah. One damage. I mean, we saw you took some really good attacks. When
Yeah.
you took a feint, which I was cool with because I wanted the 2 damage, I was like, I think he's gonna feint this. Um, but when you took this, I was not expecting you to take that. I was really because I had this, and against my better judgment, I was like, let me try this because I was like, I really want to do this, but I
Uh-huh.
chose to do this
I
instead.
got
And then
really lucky on this one. That was not like a good call from me. That was just luck because I think the only options I had were like 2 shifts or something like that.
I was
And I
thinking
was
your
like, I
defense
can't.
quality was poor because it didn't make sense for
Yeah.
me for you to take there.
Yeah. The
This
faint one
take
I
was a really
actually
good pick.
the faint one I actually thought was a feint.
Yeah, both of
Um
those were good. This one seemed like, oh, okay, he's getting a little
this
silly
was
with
like
it.
desperation. This was luck also.
Yeah, it seemed like this was taking this was like when Sojo was just taking everything from Chocolate Rain, and it just
Uh-huh.
it just kept working out, and they kept taking and
Yeah.
just lost.
Ridiculous, yeah.
So,
Jeez. That was a
yeah,
crazy game.
yeah, great game, great
Well,
game.
let's
It was
flip it
awesome.
around and do it again now.
Let's do it.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to make this nearly as close with me on the Mary side,
Um,
but I'll try.
gonna do
I
this.
will.
Yeah, then early, I think I regretted my decision at the very beginning to. I should have just double. I should have attacked with the double, I think,
I'll keep, I think. Is this allowed? Attack with the double? When?
instead of playing the stolen memories.
Ah,
Just because it was an opportunity to attack. You always have opportunities to play stolen memories. You don't always have opportunities to attack.
that's true.
We'll do that.
Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, good luck, have fun. Oh,
Yeah, you too.
let me change the banner. Okay, here we go. So, I will start with a maneuver. 1, 2, 3. I will closer.
Ooh, all right.
I have no idea if this is a good call or not.
Seems pretty all right.
We'll see, we'll see. Let's attack. Nice.
Yeah.
That's such a brutal interaction, man.
It really
Hey,
is.
nice. You got the same play.
Yeah, we'll
Happy
see
to have
if
a
I
shift gone, though.
like that.
All right, your
Yeah,
turn.
that was a really good play. All right, all maneuver.
I felt like it didn't make too much sense for you to use a feint there because you'd rather value block because I'm not getting any healing at this point.
Yeah. If I had an imagination, I think I would have thrown it.
Yeah, imagination's always good there.
And then draw with ability. All right.
Okay, so I have to boost, so I'll maneuver.
You're just aggroing from both sides.
Yeah, of course. I'm the aggro man now.
That's
Now that I
right.
don't play competitively, I'm retired. I'm just YOLOing it, dude.
Yeah. It's just, yeah. It's honestly pretty fun.
It is
I
very
think
fun.
it's different too. Like, I think if you go second, you kind of play like I did
Yeah,
on the Mary side. And I think if you go first, you really want to, like, just put the aggression on, personally.
for sure. I agree.
I was trying to position so you're in like a move 4 spot, so like it's really good to just boost with evade.
Yeah, I know. Too bad I don't have that.
That sucks.
I know. Big time.
It's just I think if evade was optional, I think Mary would be significantly better. Actually, it would have won me last game,
Yeah. Forcing you to draw is huge.
especially because her whole like identity is wrapped around like wanting to stay at 3 cards. I feel like just giving her the option of do you draw depending on what the situation is or do you not?
I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna Stolen Memories.
Well, take your pick.
Oh boy. Well, since I'm being the aggressive one, I think I want to take the Imagination.
I think it'll save me 3 damage. Oh wait, is it just 3 damage? Let's see. Most likely it's just 3. So is it the same difference if I blocked with it or if I... Well, in this case, you force it out with a scheme. I wanted to hit your imaginations with yours.
I didn't
I
see him
think you
until like
probably
bottom 5,
could have
both of
just
them.
done the same thing, but yeah, it was like your roughest 2 cards. I wanted to force your feint out late in the last game because I wanted you to have imagination stuck in the end game because I felt like that would have helped me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you probably still had enough interactions to make them work. Yeah, I'll take the 3. We'll
I
see
guess
if...
you got to think about hand count too. Like, it depends. Like, what are you planning on doing on your upcoming turn, right? Like, that's
No,
another
you do.
consideration with it. But all right, over to you. Oh, can I see these other cards again?
No.
Give me your lunch money.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. That'll do.
This guy.
I didn't even like take a second look. I saw the Imagination. I was like, okay. I did see the log tube, and I'm like, I'm going for damage. So let me take away your health.
Yeah.
Because the log, like I talked about last game, is a trade, right? You get to decide, are we both going to take damage or are we both going to, mitigate damage? But with Imagination, it's just straight, you're taking damage no matter what option you choose.
Correct.
So you maneuver and you attack. Let's hope you threw the log. All right. And then I can move Big Fatso out of the way. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the green. I'll just push you in the pit, I guess.
Right,
Wait, hold up. That was my consideration here. But, otherwise, what? I push you here? I mean, I could, 1, 2, 3, 4, I could push you back here. And then I can still go after Jack, and then keep you in this zone. Yeah, I'm going to push you there.
Okay.
Alright, my go.
Mm-hmm.
I'll maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
Do I even care about Jackalope, actually? Now that I think about it. Now I'm totally reevaluating my strategy. I'm like,
With
well,
how you're playing this, I don't think you do.
yeah, I think I ignore Jackalope because I'm just going for damage on you. Yeah,
This
okay.
makes me happier about the maneuver.
Yeah, that was very stupid of me. Jeez. Very stupid. Over here. I will attack Biggie. Yep. Alright, your turn.
It's horns.
Yep.
Let's maneuver.
Maybe the problem is, Jack, I'm going to have to get through him.
And then draw with ability. Alright.
Okay, I'll maneuver. 1, 2. I'll attack Jack. Dang, dude. Brutal. Your turn.
Yeah, the double attacks are a little more scary.
Yeah.
I'll have Jack attack you. I'm trying to hit your goal, man.
Yeah. Alright, I will match it.
Yep. Alright, I will warp here. I will draw. And draw with ability. All right, and you're up.
Maneuver. And stolen memories. And we hit a feint.
Take 2.
All right, over to you.
I think that's pretty good for me.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
At least not having one of my 3s. I think at this point I just discard it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's maneuver. It's crashing. And do I draw? I will not draw.
Okay. I'll maneuver. And you got everything, literally everything. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll attack. Dang it.
Let's go gambling! Aw, dang it!
Your turn. Dang it.
Let's maneuver. And I'll draw.
Mm-hmm. I'll maneuver. And attack.
I'll take it.
Ooh. Dang you. Doing the same thing I did. Go ahead.
That's right. Let's attack you.
Do this.
No idea.
Nice.
I'll attack you again.
Ouch. At least I get my 3 actions.
And I'll draw with ability.
That's such a rude spot to be in, dude. What the heck? Alright, my turn. I'm gonna
Yeah.
maneuver. I'm gonna attack. I'll match it.
Okay. I'll push you there.
How rude, dude, again. Alright, I will maneuver. And... Here. Your turn.
Maneuver again. Call it good there.
Okay, I'll maneuver. I'll boost.
Mm-hmm.
And I will attack Jack. Oof. Okay, your turn.
Do I care about Jackalope? I'll
mean,
attack you with Jackalope.
I kind of care about Jackalope. uh,
Aw, dang it!
oh. 1, 2, maybe? Yeah, that's good there.
Trump card. I will maneuver. Good positioning.
Thank you.
Let's do that.
Alright, my turn.
Mm-hmm.
I'll maneuver. I get 3 actions. Go 1, 2, 3. I'll maneuver again. 1, 2. And I will attack Bigfoot with this.
Attacking Biggie Boy.
Yeah, I don't care about Jackalope. Get that big 7. And then your turn. Whenever you're done with your hoax.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out. I think I probably run. So I'll use my hooks to go here. Maneuver. Maneuver again. Here and here. And it'll be your turn.
What a scumbag. I'll maneuver. I'll boost. And then I will maneuver again. Your turn.
I'll have Bigfoot attack you.
This has got to be a regroup. But I feel like I can't risk it, so here we go. Yep.
Then I will maneuver and boost. All right. It'll be your turn.
Okay. I'll maneuver. I'll attack Jack.
So is this the double?
Yes.
Let's put you here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll drop a hoax too.
Nice. Your turn.
I really debated taking it.
Yeah. I mean, you could have saved yourself 2 defenses, but then that's 2 damage you don't get. And you might need the pass. Oh, and you had the horns right there. Dang it.
Oh, dang it.
Alright. I'll maneuver.
This matchup is so close.
It's so awesome. I love it. I'll attack Jack.
Take it.
Yeah. Time to go, Jackie boy. Your turn.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a fun matchup, too. It's so close, so fun.
Maneuver. Maneuver.
You
Go
better
there.
watch for fatigue, buddy.
It'll be your turn. Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, I'll maneuver. But I also might just start dying. Boost. And attack. Yeah, nice shift.
Well.
Oh no, what?
Nice.
That's insane.
I could do something else if I want.
Your other shift and hoax are bottom 2? Like, you must have the feint, but you don't want to use the feint, probably. Alright, your turn. Let's evade. Take 3, draw 1. So it all comes down to this.
Let me think about this just a
Okay,
second.
okay. Well, you have to attack, right? If you maneuver, then you just
I
die in
do, yeah.
fatigue. So it's a matter of what are you attacking with?
So the thing is, I could get cutesy with it, right?
Yeah, I know. It's not over. It all depends on this combat, though.
It does, yeah.
It's crazy.
So I'm gonna make the wrong call like I did the last game. Do I trust the math, or do I just go for it?
Oh, man. I don't know if there's one call that is better than the other. It might just be a straight 50-50. Well, I cannot take another attack. So when you maneuver and attack me the next turn, I'm dead. So I have to kill you on my coming turn. And there is a way for me to do that. So because of that, I have to take the chance of potentially still killing you, even if you make the super big brain pro play of offensive fainting.
I did not.
Oh, man, you didn't
No,
have it?
that was my initial.
Oh,
That
my
was my initial
gosh.
play.
Insane.
That was my initial play. Okay, let's say we did. Do you have the cards in hand?
Okay, I don't. But I could top deck them. I need to top deck
Both of
closer.
them?
I need to top deck closer into
Yeah.
Speak 3. So let's see. Moment of truth. Ah, you would have had it. All right, where were they?
Had it.
Where were they?
I
Oh,
should've
it was
stuck
the
with my
next.
guns.
It was the next two
Next
after
combo.
in
That's
order.
brutal.
I needed it. Wow.
Math that I was doing, there was a 50-50 shot that you had broken glass.
Yeah.
Assuming I faint and you play broken glass, you have 2 cards. Oh, shoot. I did my math wrong. You have 2 cards. I was thinking you had 3 and 2, not 2 and 3. There was a 40% chance. Oh, I would have taken those odds then. So the odds I got were 12 and 25, which is very close to 50-50. So I
Right.
felt like the decision was the same. But no, it's not 12 and 25. It's actually 8 and 25, which is 1/3.
Yeah.
So I should have taken those odds. For some reason, I was thinking you had 3 cards here, 2 here. So there's a 60% chance you have closer. Then you draw 1, so you have 4 cards here. So there's
And I get a maneuver, right?
There's an 80%. Because you maneuver. Yeah, my math wasn't right at all. So there's 2 cards. So you maneuver. Oh no, wait. I think I was right. Yeah. That's what it was. No. Okay, my math was right. So I think it is 12 and 25. So the odds are you maneuver. Now you have 3 cards of your 5.
Mm-hmm.
There's a 60% chance that you
I
have
have.
the closer.
Yeah.
You take your 30-30 and a third chance, minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning.
You play closer, and then you draw 1, so you have 1 card left in deck. So there's now an 80% chance that you also have the speak 3 times. So I think you multiply those together. So it's 3/5 times 4/5, which is 12 25ths, which is slightly worse than 50%. So that's why I was asking, do I trust the math or do I go with my gut?
Yeah.
And I mean, it always comes down to the last interaction. That's
so you
brutal.
trusted the math, huh?
I didn't trust the math. No,
you went with your gut, and
I went with my gut.
oh, you're saying trust the math because it was very slightly
It was
above the 50-50.
1/12 or 1/25. Yeah.
Right. So that was what, a 54 to 46% split? If it's a 1/25th, you
something
multiply
close
by
to
4.
that. Yeah, there is a
or 48 by 52. 48 to 52. Right?
I think something like that. So yeah, 48% that you don't have it, and then 50%. But I felt like maybe the odds were good. The reason I threw the feint is because when you went in there and you boosted with what you did, I felt like that was communicating to me that you have both the evade and the broken glass.
I did. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was leaning to the feint. And then when I played the feint, and then I was thinking about it for a while, and you didn't immediately play a defense, that messed with me. And so before getting more information off of that, I wanted to take it back and think more about it. But
wow.
My thought was I wanted to win immediately there if I had the opportunity to. I felt like I would be kicking myself more if I didn't throw the savagery there.
Yeah.
because if I threw the feint there and all you have is Trick of the Light, you defend, you stay alive, and then you maneuver. And the only way I don't lose is if Closer is now your bottom card.
Right.
Because if you have Broken Glass, I think I lose.
Well, you still had a shift.
Correct.
Oh, but
With
shift
Broken
doesn't
Glass
kill
matches.
me though. Shift doesn't kill me is the problem.
No, sorry, I was just saying if you had Broken Glass that you drew, you would kill me.
Right. Oh, right. Just on
Yeah,
offense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like I
It was
felt like
close, man.
if I didn't if I knew I'd be kicking myself more if I went for that and whiffed it. Like if I had the kill and
Right.
didn't take it. So
Yep.
like obviously if I had played the feint, it would have ended up in me winning, which would have been awesome. But I don't know. I feel like the odds of that were, I guess, a little better. But
It's barely. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. It was
ultimately
good.
though,
This
look
was
how close. Both of these
yeah.
games were
This
so close.
So yeah, that was the trouble, right? Is I could have feinted. I think I might have, in hindsight, feinted your double to stay at 4. I hadn't realized that I was double attacking you in like a really good position. Like I didn't realize like how close you were to death.
Yeah.
So I think I should have realized, oh, that puts me to 4, and then I can double attack you and put you down to like really low. But the worst case scenario was exactly this, where you call out the savagery correctly, and then I'm here, and then you have 3 actions. So you can double maneuver and then most likely kill me if you don't have it, or heal, which I think wins you the game as well.
Probably.
Um, so that was my thought. That's why I didn't faint. Obviously, I wanted shift or hoax in my hand because I think I then win because I have enough health. Uh, I have 4 health left, and I still have my feint, which having both of those, I think, is a really, really good spot to be in.
Yeah, I agree. Because then you don't have to worry about lethals.
Yeah. Oh, that was
Wow.
amazing. This matchup is so good.
It's so fun.
It always comes down to the last interaction. We saw there, right? Like I played a lot of my feints early, so we saw Mary get just like a lot of damage being able to find the lethals there. In the previous game, it was more that I ran you out of resources, right? Here we each had like 5 to 6 cards left.
Yeah.
And we were both working with lethals. Like if you didn't kill me then, I kill you the next turn.
Right.
Stuff like that. But with the previous game, it was literally fatigue / you couldn't maneuver again. You had to use your last feint as an attack, and it won you the game.
Well, the
So it's
crazy
just like so cool to see how dynamic the game is.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, again, though, I mean, this game didn't ultimately end from fatigue, but look how close we were. If you were 1 extra card down, I could have just double maneuvered away and won in fatigue, right? Like, if you had
Correct,
drawn
yeah.
1 extra card from your ability. And of course, it probably wouldn't have gotten to this same exact game state, but it would have forced you to come at me maybe sooner during one of those many turns that I had 4 cards in hand, which would have procced my ability, which just changes everything, you know? It's
So
just
cool.
so dynamic.
I just really like this matchup because it really highlights how Mary can be like just a cool fighter, where you were like you boosted with an evade to just keep your hand a little lower, and you didn't need the evades. Like you really see like some of the, and it also let you get up in my face. So you just see a lot of like the really cool decision points that you don't normally see, just because Mary's playing against Jeannie, and Jeannie's like, oh,
Discard your hand.
away.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, you make a good point. You really just do, you get to see Mary shine, and that's not typical, in competitive Unmatched at least. There was a time, back in the day when Mary was first released, that she was pretty dang good, as you mentioned, because being a Yananga counter was just a huge deal. And yeah, if only we knew about the Bigfoot thing back then, I mean, she would have been probably picked even more, at least by specialists like you and Darkblade and the like.
yeah.
But yeah, just so cool. Such a cool design. She's just a little bit undertuned, but in the right matchups, she's a powerhouse. And it's so fun to see her actually work as intended.
Really is.
Right?
It's just like insane to see her have like, I have a million ways to like kill you. How am I going to find the damage this game? It's like kind of insane.
Such a fun one. So yeah, any final thoughts? Do you think anyone's favored, or you still think it's even?
I don't know. If I had to guess, I'd say slight Mary favored, but it'd be like 55-45. Like
Okay.
it's not anything more. The reason I say that is because I do just feel like even when the opponent is making like perfect combat calls and such, you're still like watching their health tick down. Like
Yeah, you're still in it.
like you're still totally fine with it. So some fighters don't feel like that, right? Like they feel like I need my combats to go my way to do all right. But some fighters, it's like, okay, I don't care if you call all of these correctly. It's gonna end up working out for me. And we saw that in the first game where I think you were happy with most of the combats,
Mm-hmm.
except for that one log into the 0.
Mm-hmm.
That was favorable for me. But at least on defense, you were killing it, and she's still totally in this.
Yeah.
Which is just so. I think that's why I would put it, because sometimes like I double fainted your ambushes, and the ambush is like critical in this matchup. To like if you can hit any like defense at all or a log, you're shining. If you hit horns, that's obviously good, but horns are not kept in hand for any amount of time.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, if you can just like if they defend it and you get like another any card that you're like you're happy to get rid of. So like shifts, you're happy to see gone. Any defenses, which also include shifts, logs. Sometimes the last savagery is good to see gone,
Mm-hmm.
depending on your defensive. So like all those types of stuff. It's
Funny
just
thing, in this game, I was actually happy that you fainted those because I was just looking to, like, those in my mind don't give me damage, and I was just purely looking for damage. So I'd rather you faint that over something like a jump scare. So,
yeah. I
like,
wanted to faint your double attacks.
yeah, and that too, the doubles as
The
well.
reason I fainted actually is because both of the times you attacked me, I had 5 or 6 blue or purples. So I felt like if it was an ambush and I didn't faint
You
it,
don't
I'm
wanna
just
lose, yeah.
losing. It's getting 2 for 1, which I can't afford that and the 3s. So I was like, if it's either of these, I gotta stop the 2 for 1s.
Yeah.
So that was why I
Makes
did it.
sense.
I was
Yeah.
actually like desperately wanting my 6s when you weren't at 4 cards, or my savageries,
Yeah.
and it wasn't often. I was
Right.
like, no, where are all my friends?
Yeah, and you were drawn like a maniac too. I'm surprised you
I
didn't see
was,
them.
yeah.
But yeah, on the
It just
subject
shows
of
how much the pressure can like
Oh,
really put you in a
it's
bind.
huge. Yes, it's huge. And on the subject of the who's favored, I think obviously the Mary side is a bit harder to play because she's just a harder fighter to play in general. But if you
Mhm.
are a competent Mary, I think the Bigfoot side is easier to mess up with. Like,
Hmm. I
like
think that's right.
yeah, like an average Bigfoot just playing into Mary thinking, oh, I'm just going to go stomp her because she's Bloody Mary. Like, you're in for a rude awakening because it's not easy from the Bigfoot side. And
Yeah.
obviously, we saw, like, the first position make a big difference in you're trying to go aggressive. But the funny thing is, I mean, you don't have to go aggressive, like, super, pedal to the metal kind of style. You can kind of hang back and play a more gradual tempo kind of game.
Mhm.
It's just so dynamic, and so I don't think the starting position determines everything, but it does obviously help out if you're going for an aggressive style.
You can just be mulliganing too for what you're looking for. If you're going first, you're like, all right, give me an ambush, give me a double attack. Let's do this.
Yeah, totally. That
And
sets
if
you off
you're
on
in
a great.
second, you're like, all right, I probably want like a stolen memories to help me with some
Mhm.
of the like tempo. I want probably a broken glass to help me when I finally get down to 4, stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. The mulligan definitely shifts. Wow. What an
Yeah.
awesome matchup. Yeah, I'd highly
Very
recommend
fun.
this
Thanks,
to
man.
everybody. Yeah, man, thanks for playing. This was a great time. It's great to get back at it and actually play a game of Unmatched with you again after so long.
No, I know we have like 5
5 more
on
to
the
catch
back
up. Yeah, that's okay. We'll get there. But yeah, this was a blast, so thanks a lot. Pleasure to have you on as always.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Well, have a good night. We're going to end it here.
All right, sounds good. See ya.
All right, see you later.
All right, guys, there you have it. That's going to do it for matchup of the month, April, with Bloody Mary versus Bigfoot. Now, I cannot recommend this matchup enough. It is just so dynamic and so fun. So if you are a fan of Bigfoot or Bloody Mary, I cannot recommend this one enough. Go try it out for yourselves. But as you saw, it's very, very even. I mean, I did start going first both games, and won both games, but I don't think that was necessarily the reason that I won. I think more so it just dictated my role in the matchup, because it's kind of like American football where you have your offensive team and your defensive team, and both function differently and have different goals. So I think your starting position will determine what kind of role you are playing, but I don't necessarily think that one position is more powerful than the other. So I think it's really even overall, but even though I've proven it to myself time and time again, I'm still a little bit skeptical. And I'm like, well, is it really that good for Mary? I think the answer is yes, ultimately. But I'm still curious to hear what you guys have to say if you've tried this matchup. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know how it went, because maybe you played it on a different map, or maybe you had a wildly different experience than we saw here today. But I'm just curious, so let me know down in the comments. And of course, give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are not already. And please consider supporting me on Patreon, where you can cast your votes for future Matchup of the Month episodes. And I just appreciate the support from everybody out there, because I would not still be doing this if it wasn't for you all. So big thanks to everybody for all the support, no matter how it's given. I appreciate you all. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. That's going to do it for this episode. But like I mentioned, we are hopefully getting back on track here and should be getting them pumped out semi-regularly, at least until we can get actually caught back up and then release monthly as expected. So that's going to do it for today, guys. I will see you all in the next one, so hope you all enjoyed. Thanks again for watching. I'm ZeroSkater12, and I'll see you next time.